The live stream will begin in just 1 minute. How was that for announcer voice? Pretty bad. All right, give me just a second here. I think we're live streaming. Yes, we are. So now, if you're watching this and you're watching this at 4 p.m., 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern time on Wednesday, January 25th, there is a URL that you should see somewhere around here. I'm streaming this to LinkedIn and a bunch of other places, and certainly into the Facebook group. I'm going to start letting folks in here. And then what we're going to do is come and join me on Zoom. I likely will not see if you comment. I want you to comment, but I may not see it in real time. I'm going to have my team kind of take a peek over there. So if you want to join us on Zoom, what you want to do is go to upmyinfluence.com/free class. And then you could join us on Zoom. Now, in addition to Zoom, in addition to being able to engage live, you also, I'm going to be giving you a lot of resources and links and book recommendations and a bunch of other stuff. And that most of that's going to take place in our Facebook group. So let me go ahead and let some folks in here. Let's see, I've got Elisa, my COO, coming in. I've got Lynn Whitbeck. Hi, Lynn. How are you? Good to see you.
I muted and unmuted myself. I'm great, Josh. How are you doing?
Excellent. I'm so grateful you are here. I am likely going to call on you during this conversation because I just value so much your expertise, and you've been a great mentor to me. Welcome, Melissa. Well, hey, Joe, how are you? And Arthur, good to see you as well. And so if you could do me a favor, you don't have to have your audio on, but if you could pop on your video, that would be great, just so we could see your smiling faces. And if you're on video too, I would love to give you an opportunity. We're live streaming right now to over 100,000. And so I'd love to use the opportunity just in these first couple minutes here to celebrate great business leaders and owners that are joining with us right now. If one thing you're going to learn about me, and that's going to be part and parcel to kind of my message today in this first kind of free class I'm going to do, is I love to use my platform to celebrate other people. And there are a lot of reasons why I do that. Number one is it makes the world a better place. But believe it or not, I got lots of business justifications for doing so as well. And so with that, let me just give you about 15 seconds or so, just kind of let us know for our friends that are joining us here live on Zoom. And again, I apologize to those who are like, hey, what's this thing that just popped on my social media feed? What you're watching is you're watching a Zoom meeting right now. And if you want to join us on Zoom, again, go to upmyinfluence.com/free class, all one word, and we'd love to have you join us. I'm going to, for 4 weeks, this is the first of 4 weeks, I'm going to be going through and opening up the playbook and explaining exactly how we have been able to, as an agency, as a consultancy, how we get to chat with about 40 or more of our dream ideal customers every single month with zero advertising, zero spam, zero sliding into DMs, zero stressing about, oh, am I saying and doing the right stuff on social media to kind of drum up business? We don't worry about any of that stuff. In fact, Kimberly, welcome. Good to see you. We've got, let me make you and Elisa here co-hosts, just in case I need your help. And then, let me, Lynn, let me give you about 10 or 10, 15 seconds, just kind of explain who you are and what you do.
My goodness. So hi, everyone. And I am so there with Josh. I'm Lynn Whitbeck. I help business owners and entrepreneurs hire me to ignite winning sales because most are chasing down leads, lack client retention, conversion, and profits. I work specifically on sales strategy. That is my expertise. And Josh, thank you so much for the shout out.
You bet. All right. I'm going to go through a few other people again. Why am I shouting out people? Because they got here early and on time. And I always, again, love to use a platform to celebrate other great business owners and leaders that are doing great stuff. Joe Rocky, 15 seconds. What do you do, my friend?
Well, I'm Joe Rocky of Elite Business Conversations. We give keynote addresses, essentially helping people find that passion and make themselves better in relationships and therefore better in every capacity of their business and personal lives.
I love it. That sounds like a good bill of goods. Arthur Yan, about 10, 15 seconds. Tell me what you do, sir.
Hey, Josh. So I'm Arthur Yan, and I run a business called Nest Protection Plan. And we basically partner with contractors and other types of home service businesses to help them provide home mold-free warranties. And so it's really been a lot of exciting progress that we've made, and also host a podcast, which you can see behind me. So thanks,
awesome.
Josh. Appreciate that.
If I could have my team give me a hand, go access my social media. I started this post with the wrong title and description. I don't know, Elisa or Kimberly, if you could either, if you have access or if you could tag Mian to see if you can't edit the title and description for this post, just so it's more accurate. I did my last live stream. I didn't check to change that. So it's my good friend, Michael DeLon, his description is showing up in the title and description. So a couple more folks. Also, if you're on video, I'm going to call on you. If you're not on video, I won't have the opportunity to invite you as well. But Victoria, hey, Vicky, you look familiar. I think we've chatted. Tell me share what you do.
Hi, so I'm a business wingwoman to founders, and essentially what that means is anything they need in regards to operations management, I jump in and help them with it to make their visions actionable.
I love it. I love it. And by the way, to our friends who are joining us on Zoom, this won't be streamed outward, but within within the Zoom call here, you're welcome to share in the chat window. Please just share just the equivalent of what you would include on a business card. Please don't go into a commercial, but please do feel free to share your contact information, your website, so that after someone's kind of heard you describe who you are and what you do, at the very end of this, I want to make sure that that you save the chat so that you have access to that contact information. If they're like, oh yeah, I needed to talk to Arthur or whomever, you can go ahead and include that in the chat window. And by the way, please do use the chat during this whole hour long, because I'm going to go through a lot of information. I'm going to try and do as much Q&A in this first one, but I have to lay a lot of foundation because the next 3 weeks are going to be very, very actionable, and it's going to be a lot more interaction. But if you miss out, so heaven forbid someone join us in week 3 and like, what were you guys talking about in week 1? I don't know. Like, they're going to feel like they're in the wrong room because they're missing a lot of the foundation we're going to cover. So I share that in that if I'm going through content really quickly, I will try to watch the chat window, and I will use the chat. If I could have either Kimberly, Elisa, Angelique, or whomever kind of let me know, hey, we got a great question right here. I can make sure to try to get that in as best as possible. Suzanne, we're going to go with Suzanne, Marcel, and Ivan. Those are my last 3. Just want to give you a quick 10 seconds, just kind of share celebrating other great business owners and leaders out there. And Suzanne, we'll start with you. What do you do?
Well, thank you for this opportunity. I am a hypnotist, neurolinguistic programming trainer and practitioner, and I have been helping my clients overcome emotional issues such as anorexia, bulimia, sex addictions, depression, and anxiety totally and completely. My clients do not need any other help once I'm done with them most of the time. I have about a 97% success rate with my clients. And that's because I screen the ones who are ready to let go of it now.
That's it. We're going to talk about that, about making sure you're in the right room with the right people, but because boy, will that help your statistics.
Definitely.
Work
And
with
another
the
thing-
willing. We got to work with the willing. And I
Definitely.
apologize. I want to make sure, Suzanne, thank you so much. Please do share your contact information in there in the chat window. And I apologize to, I just want to make sure I get to Marcel and then Ivan. And then I am so excited to share just some really helpful content and information that I think is going to be able to help everybody here today. Marcel, how are you, my friend?
Hey, Josh. Hey, Happy New Year. How are you doing? How you doing,
Yes,
Josh?
excellent, excellent.
That's a blessing. That's
Share,
awesome,
share with
brother.
everyone the good that you do in the world.
How you guys, ladies and gentlemen? How's everybody doing? Everybody good? Hey, my name's Marcel, and hey, I'm a fitness artist, also known. Some may know the word personal trainer, but I kind of pivoted, did a little rebranding. So I like to design and to craft bodies. That's my forte, and I'm looking at more into the mindfulness approach also too, because the mind and the body are inseparable. So pretty much in the Northern Virginia area, I'm just doing my thing, perfecting my craft, still trying to be a student of my craft also too. And I'm just here today to have a meeting of the minds with other like-minded individuals on different
Love
levels.
it. I love it. Marcel, I will never forget the name Sergeant Shred.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Awesome.
Great. Hey, that's so great. I appreciate you, brother.
Thank you for being here. And then
Absolutely.
Ivan Demosthenes, thank you so much for joining us. What do you do?
Hello, everybody. Pleasure to meet you all. My name is Ivan Demosthenes, and I just noticed someone join us, Karine Aristide. Always a pleasure to see another Haitian in the audience. So hello again. I do recruiting, executive search, professional placement with a specialty in diversity recruiting. And I will do pretty much project work as well, new location openings, projects, and also do recruiting consulting with focus groups with organizations from not only for-profits, but also nonprofits and colleges and universities.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for showing up here. Grateful that I get to be of service, and I hope that I demonstrate the value that I've promised in extending the invitation to join us here today. So because I'm going to go through a lot of information, I want to let you know that if you're here live, if you're in our Facebook group, I will make sure that you get access to a copy of the recording of this presentation as well. I just want to make sure that I make that available, and as well in the Facebook group. Best way is just to search the one word. I think it's Up My Influence in Facebook, and you should find, there's a page, not a whole lot happening there. But in the group, I really love to use that group as kind of a networking tool to help connect great business leaders, where there's an opportunity. I love connecting people. That, to me, that's just very, very rewarding. And so also to our friends that are in the Zoom chat, if you could kind of mute yourself, that would be great. And if I could have my fellow co-host kind of keep an eye on that as well. So without further ado, again, I'm going to lay down some groundwork for content that this information is going to be exceptionally valuable for the upcoming weeks, where we're going to get a little bit more practical. So it's kind of like this today's 101. Next week's going to be a 201, 301, and then we're going to go into graduate mastery in the fourth week. By the end of this, I want to make sure that you are empowered to know not only why what we're talking about works so well, and it helps us to truly make the impact in the world that we desire without all of the nonsense, without all of the spammy, salesy stuff that you may have been told that you are supposed to do. I'm here to let you know that anything from a marketing and sales perspective that makes you uncomfortable is not a requirement. We should always be working in 100% authenticity with our own morals and values. So if you don't like sliding into DMs and going through scripted kind of nonsense, let me just tell you that you don't need to do that. And in fact, most of the business leaders and owners that I've been able to have conversations with over 1,500 interviews on my podcast, and I interview and have meaningful conversations with 6, 7, 8, 9-figure business leaders. I don't hear those kind of tactics very often. Most people that I work with focus on being, kind of living in their authority and influence, but doing so in a way where they get to truly focus on serving the world in a way that aligns with the superpowers that they have. So with that, I'm going to share my screen here, and I'm going to go through I'm going to kind of skip through this a little bit faster than I would normally, because I do want to make sure that I leave some time at the end to kind of answer some questions. Now, many of the questions, I'll say that is really great. And in fact, I'm going to use the questions that we get both in the chat window and the ones I'm able to get to in this presentation for the upcoming session. So I'm counting on you to let me know what you need help with most when we go through this stuff. So all that said, please give me a thumbs up in the chat or on screen in your video. If you can see, do you see like Josh going like this? Do you see that photo, or am I sharing the wrong screen? No? What do you see? Oh, okay. All right. Now I'm getting the good. Okay. So here is, again, I'm going to go through this. I'm going to give you the kind of more of a Cliff Notes version of this, but I want to help you book out your sales calendar. Who would love that? Who would love to be in a position where you no longer need to worry about where your next sales or partnership conversation is going to come from? Give me a thumbs up or a yes or an emoji or a like. If you're watching on social, go ahead and like the post or comment below. And that's what I'm going to share with you, because my influence has been 100% inbound for 38 months consecutively. And we do pretty decent volume. There is a threshold for us to work with people, and that is usually they need to be at a six-figure or higher business. So that's a pretty exclusive crowd compared to the business owner audience as a whole. So in order for me to get that face time with those folks, this right here, what I'm going to go through is exactly how I do this. Okay, so again, you may not have a system. What I want to help you do is not only create a great inbound system, but I also want to help you create predictability. Because if there's one thing that I've learned in agency life is inconsistency sucks. Sorry to use harsh language, but the ups and the downs are maddening. It's like, and then we start to look at, like, it could be in August or a January or December, and we're like, oh, I don't have a lot of new people that have been starting. And then we get down on ourselves and we blame ourselves, when in fact, it's really kind of simple. And I'll get into what that might look like. But again, if you've ever suffered with inconsistent sales are dependent on only one traffic source, which is pretty risky. If you've stagnated, if your sales have dropped, if you feel like you're having to hustle more and more to keep up, if you're stressed out, you're less present, like that's starting to affect your personal relationships and your family relationships. What I was talking about earlier, if you're right now implementing an icky sales strategy that just doesn't feel good or feels out of alignment, I'd like to help with that. You don't have Here's kind of my thesis statement here. You don't have a marketing problem. You likely have a relationship problem, and your net worth is equal to your network. You being in this room right now, I would argue, is a huge net positive. You're among collaborative people that are interested. They heard my message. They say, you know what? I would love to build my I would love to build my business in a very relationship-oriented way. You're in the right room. Now, if you go to a bro-y marketing conference, what I'm about to share is not going to resonate real well, unfortunately, with too many of those folks. So to add a little bit more of a poison pill to that way, of doing business, you're not one funnel away from next level success. And think about this, because I'm going to make a bold statement here. You are 200 meaningful relationships away from never having to hustle and sell ever again. Let me illustrate that. What would happen if you were a real estate professional in your local market and you had 200 friends that are centers of influence, and everyone is a center of influence today because of platform and social media, right? Which I'm going to get into a lot. If you get to a point professionally where you've got 200 centers of influence that, when asked, hey, who's a good realtor that you'd recommend? And they shout out, you got to work with Ivan. Well, in my opinion, it's kind of game, set, match. When you have 200 de facto salespeople for you, like that should be our goal. But oftentimes we're so worried about, kind of hunting to survive for today that we spend less time in building a network that will truly reward us forever. You can do both, but you're probably not doing enough of the relationship networking that you could be. And so because of that, we find ourselves not able to break out of the hamster wheel. So I'm going to use a lot of language that's going to be pretty consistent with kind of the folks that you see on the screen. And that is, we work with a lot of agency owners, coaches, consultants, and what we help them do is, again, build relationships, grow their authority and influence, and then create, most important, consistency with high-level introductions. By the way, you should know, during this 4 weeks, I am not going to sell you anything. I have nothing for sale during this presentation. I have nothing for sale in the future upcoming weeks. You're a smart business owner. If you see something that you want, I'm just going to trust it. You know how to get it. I'm not going to hit you over the head with any pitches. You've quite frankly had enough pitches in your life. So this is a safe space. I'm here to serve. I'm a big proponent of, I think that all of us as business leaders should find a percentage of our time and resources and just give it away for free. Just put it out there and just serve with no expectation or reward. And this is that for me. So here are the three outcomes I want to help you create. I want to help you increase your influence as you position yourself as a top authority in your field. I'm going to cover that just a little bit. We're going to talk about platform and the power of platform and how you can use platform very specifically to fill your calendar. When we start getting very tactical in future weeks, we're really going to drill down on this. We're going to make sure that everybody who shows up, we're going to talk very specifically about who you are, what you do, who you serve, what your product is, and we'll come up with very specific things that you can do so that you can drive meaningful introductions and relationships, which is outcome number 3, again, where you can expand your network by building all the relationships with nearly anyone you want. And I say nearly anyone, and we'll get into that. I feel it's probably valuable if you don't know who I am, just kind of give you a quick, I'm not going to read all this, but you can, I've been around. I've been trying to, I've been out there doing my thing for quite some time. I've had I've had plenty of failures in business, and I've had a few pretty good successes. Spoken for a Tony Robbins organization, been in the media over 2,500 times. I've been around. And then I also have a cherished personal life with my beautiful family. And there's my wife and I down in the lower right-hand corner. We had just, that's at the summit of Pikes Peak there, where in fact my daughter lives now. Look at that little red shirt girl hugging on to my wife. Now she's all grown up, 23 years old, living in Colorado. But hey, and look, there's Josh. There's me, 16 years old, actually doing school news on WWMT in Kalamazoo, Michigan, with my flock of seagulls hair. So just a little bit about me. All right. So let's talk about where we are today. I'm going to be giving book recommendations. So if you're taking notes or you have access to take notes, here's going to be my very first book recommendation. And this is where we need to be very honest with ourselves about where the world is today. Okay. So the book I'm going to recommend, actually, I think it's on the next slide. Here it is. It's this one, Marketing Rebellion by Mark Schaefer. Please jot that down if you want to learn more about what I'm talking about. I think Mark does a very fantastic job. And by the way, you're going to find that I love giving credit where credit is due. Nearly everything that I'm teaching has to do either with, work I've done or largely work based upon mentors and experts that I've really grown to take what they have to share and really put it in action. And so today, let's think about this. I don't know, was anybody on this call, has anybody been around long enough that you were doing Facebook ads back in I know it's not that long, it's 8 years ago, but did anybody do Facebook ads back in 2015? Anybody been around that long? All right. How is the world different? Like back then, I don't want to say it was like printing money, but it was much easier than it is today. Today, it's really just a function of the fact that I think, and I'll get to this, marketers flock to good ideas until they ruin them. And because of that, and because, well, I'm gonna save a couple of editorial comments here in just a second. But what you have, and again, I think Mark Schaefer does a pretty good job of illustrating this. I have studied and led on consumer behavior for, again, getting on 16 years. And consumers have never been bombarded with advertising messages like they have over the past 5 to 10 years. So as a result, you create a hyper-resistant population. So in other words, the ads that used to work before, you could send out spam and have it do okay. But today, good luck with that. And there are definitely consequences to bad marketing behavior. Number one, algorithms and so forth aren't really going to like you. You're going to get flagged as a spammer. If you're sliding into DMs and getting too spammy, hopefully, again, I'm hoping that social media is going to continue to try to do stuff to clean up its act, and it's probably never not enough, but it's just annoying, right? More importantly, is you're doing your reputation damage. People don't like it. And there are marketers out there that will convince you to just keep spraying and praying, and you'll get everything you want in life, but it's not true. And number one, maybe that feels good to you to do that kind of business. Maybe it doesn't feel good to you. If it doesn't feel awesome to spray and, have people, respond back with angry messages like, stop spamming me. If that bothers you, that bothers me. Like, to me, like I would feel awful. Like if that's how I was showing up in people's lives. So I needed to come up with ways to grow my business that didn't involve being an interrupting, fool in people's DMs or cold calling and that sort of thing. A lot more noise. And consumers today just simply expect more know, like, and trust because everybody's on edge. Everybody's guarding their attention. And so to break through, you're just going to have to be much more human. Anybody ever heard of human to human? Right? Have you heard people talking about that? I wholeheartedly believe that. I believe that we as humans love to do business with humans, right? It's wonderful that we have tools, technologies, and platforms, and we have these things to improve our lives. I think there's exciting things with AI happening that will help streamline our ability to better connect with people and not have to spend so much time and effort and resources in doing some of these other things. But here's a list of things that I want to ask if this is really what you want in your legacy. And I'm not going to go through all this stuff, but you probably recognize some stuff that you've done, and that's fine. I'm here to let you know this is a safe, non-judgment free zone. And so if you're currently doing this and it's working, I don't have a criticism for you if it's working for you. And generally, you don't find that people are giving you any pushback on it. But maybe you look at some of this stuff and some of it just doesn't resonate with you. And you don't want that to be a part of your legacy. And so I want you to know that you can consistently leverage more of a human-to-human approach. It will work. You have to trust the process. And that's what we're going to do. So again, if Glenn Ross is not your jam, you're in the right room. And who would you rather be? Would you rather be the spammer or would you rather be the professional? And I want you to think about this for a second, because it's really nice when you can get to a position where you're 100% inbound. Like, people love coming to you because of the value you bring, the perceived authority that you have, the influence that you have. It doesn't happen on day one. In fact, it's probably going to take a little bit of time to build up some of these things that we're talking about, and that is perfectly okay. But I also want to start getting you thinking about how you use your days? How do you use your working hours, your working week? And how much of your time is spent in the effort to just drum up business? What would happen if you use some of that CEO hustle work to start serving your clients better, to really invest into doing what you truly, truly love, rather than feeling like you're a used car salesperson who can never leave the lot? And unfortunately, far too many of us, and I say us, me included, have felt that pressure where we have to constantly always be selling. And you've probably seen these folks in your personal feeds and social media. And sometimes I almost feel uncomfortable for them because, maybe they're fine with it. And I'm not trying to put my judgment on them, but I couldn't do it. I wouldn't enjoy that. Like, for me, social media is largely, as some things some folks I like to follow for professional and so forth. But mostly I want to go and connect with people. And so when we can accomplish some of these goals, I can start absolving you from this pressure to constantly be selling, advertising, spamming, sliding into DMs, all this sort of thing, always focused on lead gen, right? If again, we can kind of focus on becoming so remarkable that advertising and lead gen and so forth is something you don't have to do because of the level of remarkableness, then I feel like that, to me, as a business owner, is kind of like the Holy Land. Like, that's kind of where I want to get to. And let me just ask you this. How do you like being sold to? Or how do you, and it's not a good question, how do you like engaging? Like, we all spend money. We all spend lots of money. And we hire people and we buy things. And what is that process like? And do you enjoy feeling like Kristen Wiig here, who's, has this guy, I don't recognize who he is. It looks familiar, but, we don't like that feeling of being, sold at. And I feel like a piece of meat, and I don't like that feeling. And I don't like being treated like a number. I don't want to just be someone in, some human in someone's sales funnel, and all they care about is just numbers, 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 baby. So I share all of that because I want you to be mindful of who you are and kind of, what your intentions are. Because we kind of know, like, as soon as you start talking, we feel it. We feel if you're desperate for revenue and sales, hey, been there, done that. Okay, we're going to have to shift how we're coming across and shift our intention. And so, if when you wake up in the morning and your first thought is, who am I going to sell to today? It's hard. It's hard to use enough mouthwash to remove that sales breath from your vocal cavity. So we're going to need to be very mindful of our intention, because today you cannot fool anybody. We all know what you want. If my intention were to just, I'm just going to give away a free class and then I'm going to start selling to people, you guys would have full right to tear me up, and rightfully so, because that would be awful, right? There's stuff that we do because we want to do good in the world and we want to provide good service, right? And then we also have business that we need to do, right? But if right out of the get-go, you are insistent that everybody is a potential customer, or everybody, you're going to sell at everybody. Maybe they are, or maybe they're not. Maybe we could start asking better questions and find out who they are and what they truly, truly need. And if we can be who they need us to be in that moment, we might become a dear friend of theirs who also happens to be really good at what you do. And so if we start to if we start to build more and more in friendships and relationships, we could just focus on being wonderful and magnificent. All right, so let's go through kind of these three kind of pillars, of why this works. Number one, authority, and authority is a currency. A currency is only valuable as it's spent. So what is authority today? Boy, I need to be paying more attention to the chat window, because I know you guys have been sharing some stuff over there. Let me kind of have someone unmute really quick and tell me what you think authority is in your industry. So I'll just whoever happens to be able to unmute and just kind of tell me, maybe Arthur, for example, like think about your industry. Someone, maybe it's you, maybe it's someone else. If you can think of them, what makes them an authority?
Well, I think what makes someone an authority in the industry is being heard, being informative, helpful, being kind of a source of all kinds of information relating to that industry, and being somebody that's trustworthy. If you're just out there making a bunch of noise and none of it is helpful or makes any sense to anybody, or just like Josh likes to say, it seems spammy, or dishonest or whatever, then you're not going to be an emerging authority. But the more that you can put yourself out there, you can, show value and show people help, then that's going to really push you up, forward as an authority in your industry.
Truly. Yeah. And when you have higher authority, and we're going to break this down, and I'll go into as much detail as you want. We can actually, in the weeks ahead, we can actually spend some time and actually look at these, what I'm going to call authority indicators. Make sure to make a note of that. And don't let me forget that, because I want to make sure that we workshop that out. Because if you understand what your customer's journey is and how they're going to be checking you out, and spoiler alert, they're going to be checking you out. You can head them off at the pass. Is the way I like to look. Like if you know every move on the chessboard, well, you know where they're going to go. And if you know that they're going to go there, they might do a Google search on you and your LinkedIn profile might come up. Do you have a lot of control over what's on your LinkedIn profile? Yeah, you do. And do you know that a percentage of people that are checking you out might find you there? Yeah, so we'll talk about that in a future week. I want to just shout out Suzanne. Thank you so much for your chat. I want to share what you said, because if you are a marketer or you're a business leader, I don't want you to do what Suzanne is saying. Could you please stop? Suzanne says, I'm utterly sick of people emailing me on the contact sheet to do SEO, et cetera, for the website. I hate all the LinkedIn DMs selling me things I have no interest in, stating that they know me, but they've said zero in their DM to let me know who I am and what I do. It's disgusting. Suzanne, I agree. It feels icky. And are there any like empaths? Like, it's like, yeah, you know what empath means. And you're like, yeah, I definitely I feel it in the feels. And when someone was being disingenuous with me and I feel it, I feel, best way I can describe it is I feel ripped off. I really do, because I think this is another human and I bet they're a pretty special person. And I'm a human and I think I'm an okay person. Right. But the fact that you have cheapened and bastardized our potential relationship into a purely salesy, spammy, transactional one, man, I think I'm getting to the point where I'm not upset at that person, but I'm empathic and I feel badly that they bought into someone else telling them that that's what they were supposed to do. But it just, I don't like it. Yeah. And thank you so much, Lynn, for your comments too, authentically showing up with worthy intent. I love, by the way, Lynn Whitbeck, Lynn, please do share your contact information, your website in the chat window as well. So I don't get, Lynn is one of my mentors, in fact. So Lynn, thank you so much for being here. But Lynn, you are masterful at on-the-call sales training. You are masterful at evoking referrals in such a powerful, authentic, honoring way. So I want to kind of give you a shout out as well. So So people that are saying that they know us, they clearly don't know us. When I get an email, let me ask you this too. What do you do when you get an email? I don't know who this is from. What are you looking for? I'll tell you what I look for. I say, is this sent one-to-one or is this an email blast? And if there's no indication or little indication that this is a personal one-to-one email, I assume it's a blast. And if it's a blast, it's not getting any of my time, period. And you'll find that, especially that in the business world, my observation is that the busier and more in demand that person's attention is, I don't think this is always the case, but I find that they become more and more and more protective. I have several email accounts. I check only one. The rest, I have an amazing team, especially the emails that might be a little bit more publicly accessible. And my personal email, if I get spam in that email, man, it is like instantly 100% you're getting reported as spam. And I also have like, again, I have to protect my attention. And what you'll find is that most decision makers, particularly if you're selling into enterprise, you're selling to busy founders, they just don't have the time. They to spend with every spammer that's sliding into their DMs. So, yeah. Yeah. Oh, Arthur, maybe Lynn, was that amazing quote from Lynn? You should share it. Was that what I just read out loud? Or is there a different quote? I'll let you share that in the chat. Let me get back to what I was talking about here. Authority. All right. So if you had 10 times the authority in your industry that you currently do, how might that change your life? And I really want you to, this is your homework. This is your first homework. I need you to kind of just spend a few minutes and I want you to brainstorm this. If I had 10x the authority or industry authority that I currently have, because I'm going to help you increase that, not just existing or real authority, but also perceived authority, which I find 95% of the time, perceived authority is not actually how amazing and awesome you are. We're not doing a good enough job to present ourselves at the level that we really deserve to present ourselves. So my background is in media consulting and PR. My job oftentimes is, why aren't you talking about that? Oh, I don't want to brag. No, you're not bragging. You are communicating to people the opportunities that you have had to make impact in the world. Your people want to know that. That's important. They're trying to find that out. And so if we're not communicating that, we're doing ourselves a disservice. We're doing them a disservice because we're not giving them the full picture. It's kind of like if you're doing internet dating and, I'm seeing all you guys you're all solid like 9s and 10s in my book. And so, but if you go on a dating profile and you post a picture and it looks like, it's like a really unflattering photo and your description is just awful, why would you do that to yourself? You're a 10. And so again, the way when we communicate our authority, it's not about bragging, but it's about letting people know, who we are and our commitment to make impact in the world. And there are some indicators that I think that are pretty valuable. And so I just want to kind of put that out there. If, for example, you are part of maybe a group where, as a military veteran business owner, for example, I gotta be honest, that's one thing that I was very uncomfortable in putting out there because I don't want to be that guy. I don't need to tie but there are customers and potential customers and partners that are specifically looking to work with female business leaders. If you're a part of minority, if you have a certain background, like you should find an honorable way to maybe just communicate that in some non-showy way. I just put that out there as your PR friend. But I want you to kind of think about how might your life be different if you had 10 times the authority, right? I'm going to go through some examples. How would this affect your sales cycles and conversion rate if you had 10 times the authority? Again, make sure you do this work. You can do it right now. You kind of jot this stuff down. I recommend pen and paper. Industry respect, which could translate to speaking opportunities, being sought after, people seeking you out for partnerships. People respect your time. Like if you do reach out to somebody and it's a personal one-to-one communication, if you have 10 times the authority, might they spend more time and consideration before either A, answering you, B, Oh, I forget what the ABCD stands for. I know D is delete, C is I'll get to that email later, and you don't get to it. B is you put it off. Oh, I'm going to reply to that person, then you don't. A is I'm going to absolutely respond to this person, right? I call it the email ABC test, of which I've kind of forgotten my own work here a little bit. So A is if I can help you show up as an A, then you're going to get a lot more people when you do reach out and communicate with people. Are going to be, let's do it. Wouldn't that be awesome if you had like the lucky juice where people want to engage with you? Fastest path to increase authority. Here we go. Number 2, platform. And this is the gift that we all have access to. Just like Wayne and Garth right here, you all have backstage passes. And is there anybody in the chat window here who has ever gotten media, I'll say credentials or like a press pass, or you've been noted as like a blogger or influencer? Like, has anyone ever had that opportunity where you got some, like I know, Joe, you do some sports stuff. I don't know if you've ever gotten some hookups in that regard. Marcel, did you ever get like anything like that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I sure did, Josh. I sure did. And this, I like the topic with the platform and the credibility, because you're pretty familiar with that. It definitely boosts the credibility and shows that you're actually, I guess, quote unquote, an expert in your field. So yeah, it definitely works by getting some kind of media, mass media, or just media in general influence.
Yeah. So here's like, I've been like journalism I just got into a long time ago. And, as part of that, I get media invites for just random stuff. It's not all like amazing. Like, it's just, I have had like some cool vacation stuff and stuff happen. I'm no influencer by any stretch of the imagination, little micro influencer perhaps. But I'll tell you, I've gone to events where I've gotten press passes, and one in particular was like it's like an Inc. 5000 type. It was GrowCo. Oh my gosh. Like, I had a press pass and I was constantly harangued through the entire event because I had this platform. Apparently people didn't even know who I was or what I did, but all of a sudden they saw press and they're like, you might be able to shout me out. They have no clue who I am or what I do. But here's a little insider secret. Okay. When you are able to embrace kind of the platform, content creator, journalist, again, I want to be careful with the word influencer because it means a lot of things to different people, but that let me define it this way. You use platform to celebrate other people. You instantly, if in the business world, you used to be a 4, because you are using platform to make good in the world and to involve other people in that content you create, even if you have a small platform, you instantly just added a point or two to your value. And so what you'll find is that people will come out of the woodwork. I had someone explain, it's like, it allows you to just punch up a couple of levels. So I'm going to get into all these different ways that you can use this, but I want you to consider that. Could I use platform to increase the number of relationships that I'm building? Could I use platform to make friends with someone that's a little bit higher than me, kind of in the business world? Okay. And so let's go put that out there. Food for thought. All right. And here's the reality of today's presentation. I'm going to get through half through. I'm intentionally going to stop at point number 2, and I'm going to save the rest where we're going to talk about like relationships, because I want to save enough time for some Q&A today, just based on authority and platform. And then we're going to get into the rest in next week, because I do want to make sure that we've covered a lot of ground already. So I changed my mind. When I said I was going to go through the whole, I'm not going to go through the whole presentation. Oh, wishful thinking, Josh. But yeah, the fastest path to network up is by leveraging platform and generosity. Hey, there's a good quote. or you could take a screenshot or something like that. It's my biased opinion. And it's been my experience because I have shown up at conferences where I've been a nobody, and that's most of them. Like I just went to, and I want to share this one example, and I'm going to kind of close it here because I want to leave enough time for us. So I've gone to events where I've been a featured keynote speaker. And if you've ever, anybody in this room now, even if it's a small event, but you kind of walk in the room and everyone's like, they're here. They're kind of looking at you like, oh, is that, and you just, that, I'm not going to lie, that feels cool. Like that's why it doesn't happen very often, which is like when it does happen, it's like, oh, that feels really nice. Right. And so, or I've been a featured keynote speaker and like people afterwards, anybody watch Harry Potter? Anybody know what this is? Does this look familiar? Who knows what this is? What is this? Go.
That's the luck juice.
That's it. It's the luck juice, the Felix Felicis. Okay. When you have authority, or when you not just have it, but, and again, it's not about being fake, it's always about being genuine. And sometimes we have to really put our in-service hat on and screw it on tight because we're there to truly do good for other people. But here's what happens. When you are known, when you start to get known as somebody, or even when you're unknown, but you're just showing up like this, just professionals in business will almost always attempt to reciprocate. And oftentimes, let's say you're a solid 4 or 5 in business, a 6 and 7 has the power and ability to reciprocate in ways that maybe you're not able to yet. So they're, which is not a big ask for them, could be huge for you. So me appearing on Mike Stelzner social media marketing podcast, or the EO Fire Entrepreneur on Fire, like that was back in the day. That was a huge win for me. Speaking for the Tony Robbins organization was a huge win for me, right? And I earned that through, and again, I'll go through some tactics and stuff. Don't let me forget. I'll tell the full story. I want to tell the full story so you can say, oh, wait a minute. Oh, I could do that. Right. So I'll go into that probably next week, where we'll talk about this a little bit. But again, for today, I really want your homework is to really think about what is your current, where are you at authority wise right now? And how will life be like? How will life be a little bit different if we could really focus on, and don't worry about the tactics right now. I'll help you with that, right? But if I were higher authority and people saw me as that way, how might my life, that's a homework number 1. And then number 2, I want you to start thinking about everything that you're doing and what is platform. Let me tell you, just give you one example, because I don't want you to feel like platform is too elusive. Platform is accessible to us all. Here's an example. I'll give you one example and then we'll go into Q&A. And I'll share some other examples of how I leverage this. So I went to a conference and I'm a nobody at this conference. It's my wife's conference. She's on a panel and she's, kind of like her company that she's working with. They had a booth there. And so that was their thing. And so, but I like this organization and I like what they do. So I'm there. And so I'm genuinely interested in I like what these guys are doing. How can I help? She's in marriage and family therapy and works with, folks that have had some rough experiences. So I love what they do. So what I said, I'm just kind of standing around here. I may as well do some good. I might as well do something nice for somebody because, it's just in my nature, right? I'm, being silly. But is it in your nature? So look for opportunities to continue to give, to serve, and to do nice things for people. And it will always come back. You have to trust this process because business professionals will always reciprocate. And you will get to a point where you will not be able to outgive the market. After you've been giving enough, it will feel inefficient at first. It'll feel scary at first. I'm really going to get into this next week. But let me just give you this. I'm just going to close with this example of how I did this and kind of just a small example, right? So I know who the organizing, who runs this. She's the organizer for this whole event. And I know who she is. She doesn't know me. I'm a nobody to her, right? I have nothing to gain by doing this. with one exception. And so I thought, well, listen, I got a few minutes, I've got time to kill. So I grabbed my phone. We're both part of this Facebook group. And I know that, yeah, she probably would like this Facebook group to see a little bit more of what they're doing at this live event. So I go into the group. I kind of set up a post. I said, would you mind if we did a quick live to this Facebook group? Listen, this is not my group. I'm not an admin. It's not even my audience. So for those of you who are like, well, I don't have any followers, there's hope for you. And there's a lot of places that we could start. So I'm in this event. I said, would you mind if we did a quick live and just have you kind of talk about what you're doing here? And maybe we can, kind of show people around and stuff. Yeah. What do you think her response was? Yes, absolutely. Of course, I'd love to do that. How much does that cost me? Nothing. It's cost me nothing to do this, right? So all I have to do is just, and by the way, I know I come across sometimes it's like, ooh, that guy's got, he's got some energy. If you're introverted, you can please be genuine to who you are. The world doesn't need more fast talking, blah, blah, blah. What the world needs more is thoughtful teachers, thoughtful people who show an interest in other people. And if you're that personality, you're in luck because this process is really going to work for you. If you're introverted, this will absolutely work for you. If you like people. And you like individuals better than crowds, this is especially going to work well for you. So what I did is I said, well, cool. I clicked, we went live. It wasn't that hard. I made sure that, I wasn't violating any group rules. I'm not, because I'm bringing value to this group. Now in this group is like 30,000 people. Right. And so I go live. I say, you don't know me because I'm a nobody, both in the group and in this, but and then I introduce so-and-so and I'm like, and I'm like, tell us, what you're doing at this event. And she starts talking about, she's all of a sudden, she's lighting up, right? Because we all love talking about the things that we're so passionate about. Right. Using platform to celebrate and shine the spotlight on other people, which do it and people will really appreciate you. So we do that. And I'm like, hey, and I see you've got some vendors here. And I know my wife's at one of the booths over there. And so I'm like, why don't we, maybe talk to some of these people and kind of, come on down and blah, 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 blah. And so now imagine that you're not just the meeting planner, but now these vendors who have these booths and they're paying to be there. Right. All of a sudden, this guy's coming along. He's like, oh, what's going on? Right. You attract that kind of attention when you do this. Right. And again, you don't have to talk loud and fast and that sort of thing, but just, very thoughtfully do your thing. Right. But now I'm getting her to talk. And now these vendors are seeing me coming. They're like, ooh, it's kind of funny. Out of the corner of my eye, I see them like tightening up their booths. I don't know what's going on over here, but there's some media thing going on. And so now these vendors are like, thank God, because I spent like $300 or whatever to set up a booth here. And I have no idea who's going to see it. I haven't, but hey, I'm going to show up and I'm happy to talk about the thing that I'm passionate about. So then we go and we talk to a handful of these vendors and they're like, oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. The meeting planner, the organizer, she's like, thank you, thank you, thank you. All of that cost me nothing. It just cost my willingness to show up in service and to shine the spotlight on other people. Now, we get done with the little live stream or whatever. I let her do all the talking. I just kind of tee her up with some questions and stuff. And she kind of had it from there. At the end of that, then I click stop and she goes, thank you so much for doing that. Like I'm in everyone's like, especially if you're a business, like most of us know we're supposed to be doing more stuff on social and we're never doing enough. So she's like, thank you so much. Cause I always forget to do that. She goes, who are you? Like, who are you? Like, what do you do? I'm like, oh, you don't know me, but you might know my wife, Jenny, and Natasha, who she works. Oh, yeah. So I make the connection and they start talking all together. I don't know what comes out of it. I kind of don't care, but I do know now I've helped to deepen that relationship. I help use platform to connect the dots. Now, I happen to think that it's going to, at some point, no asks on my part. I'm going to save my asks and again, just really focus on serving. But we'll get into a little bit more of process in the weeks ahead, because I do want to make sure I connect the dots like, cool. Okay, Josh, I can spend all my time doing service, but I still got to pay my bills. We'll get into that, I promise, in weeks ahead. All right, we only have like 3 minutes to listen, I'll stay after about 5 minutes after this is my last meeting of the day. But if you need to chat, please, by all means, I want to honor and respect your time. Okay, let's see. We got questions here. Go ahead and open up. You please use the reaction emoji with a little hand. And I want to give you any thoughts on today or questions about what I've covered. Because again, this is really important foundation stuff that I'm going to build on next week. And I'm going to connect some dots, because if you're coming in, you're like, Josh, I just need to make money. We'll get to that. I promise we're going to get to all of that. Right. But I need to make sure that we've got a solid foundation here. Lynn, my friend, my mentor, I know that a lot of this stuff really resonates with you. You are absolutely a lead with generosity business leader, as am I. Any of your thoughts on kind of the things I've shared regarding authority, platform, and generosity?
No, I mean, I'm in full agreement with you. And it is true that when you present yourself that way, it is a game changer. And I know at a recent event where I was a speaker at a live event, one of the organizers came up after I had done my talk, and they said, Lynn, I'd love to have you share a little bit about your TV show. And I gave them a little bit of information about the TV show, and they said, and where can people watch your TV show? And I said, Amazon Fire, Roku, and Apple TV. And the entire room, it's like silence and jaws dropping. And then the organizer turned to the audience and said, yeah, she's a big deal. And that's the thing, that's what authority does for you. You didn't have to say that, by the way. I mean, before that, it was like nobody really, I was just one of the speakers. But after that, I mean, I had so much attention. And it was definitely something that when you really push and use and leverage these platforms, and Josh has such an amazing program that he helps implement for you and manage. And the entire way he goes about it, you're not spammy. Because when people spam me, they're dead to me. I mean, literally, I already put in the chat. I don't owe them an interaction.
Okay, someone tweet that out real quick.
So it is a phenomenal way. And you're speaking directly into someone else's ears also when you're out talking and people are listening to you on the platforms in the different ways, or they're watching you, like right now on this Facebook Live. They often are doing it in solitary, they may be doing something. They could be cleaning, they could be, organizing their mail, but they're listening. And especially with podcasts, they're listening while they're doing solitary activities. And so that resonance, it sticks. And you're able to build that like, know, and trust factor faster than any other way.
Yeah, Lynn, thank you so much for that. Just a quick, I will be, if you have opted in, I'm going to be sending you a couple of things. Actually, my team will, and based upon action items, and then also I will be able to personally engage with you a little bit better on our Facebook group. There's nothing for sale, just happy to be of service. And hopefully, well, look, if you end up having success with it and we end up recording some sort of a testimonial video together, that would be awesome. But we don't need to worry about that right now. Let's just focus on getting you the things that you really want and need most in business right now. But make sure that if you are just watching this, please do go to upmyinfluence.com/free class. I'm going to send that'll go out via email, and then it will also be in our Facebook group, which again, if you just search Up My Influence, all one word, and ignore the page, go onto the group, and in the group, that's where I'll be able to, especially if you tag me in the group, I will see that, and as well, if I'm not able to respond to someone will engage there, because we're going to be pretty busy over the next four weeks as well. All right.
Josh,
yes, please.
Before I forget, will you please repeat the homework really quick so everyone can hear it again?
Number one, very important. Head knowledge without action is not super valuable. Your action at this point is going to determine the trajectory of how much we get done and how big of a life impact I can help you make. So please, please just do these two very simple things. Number one, I want you to really think about this and put some thought into it. If I had 10 times the industry authority that I do currently, how might my life be different? And please fill up a whole page with how your life would be different. How would people treat you differently? How would family members treat you? Like when, because of all the speaking invites and media invites and podcast guest invites and all these other things that will happen, they will happen. I'm telling you that will happen. How would your life be different? How would it affect your income? But spend some time. Don't use my answers. Please use your answers. That was number one. Number two, I want you to do, and let me get a little bit more clearer on this second one. I want you to think about and brainstorm all of the possible ways. And I want you to bring this because I've got some ideas. I promise there's going to be people on this call right now. You're going to come up with things. I didn't even think about that. That's brilliant. I've got my way, but I want to hear your way because my way may not work for you or work for somebody else. But if you can share a great idea, and there is an endless supply of good to be done in the world, of customers to be had, of business to be done, of impact to make in the world. There's an endless supply. Please don't worry about scarcity here. I don't need your customers. You can have your customers. And guess what? We can all work and serve together, right? But number two is I want you to brainstorm and answer this question. What are some different ways that and everyone's got some different assets coming into this. You might have a big following on LinkedIn or a decent following. You might have no followers right now on social media, right? So what are some maybe communities that you could serve, not sell to? And how could you do that? And I want you to brainstorm that. I'm not saying this is going to be the right answer, but the more ideas that you have, the better we're going to be able to hone in on some different ways where we can help start turning you into a little mini, I won't say mini celebrity, but again, I want to help you get some instant, like authority-wise, if I can get you to a 3 to a 4.5, that's a major success. But platform is just such a powerful tool in order to do that. And we'll get into some other authority indicators and stuff in future weeks. And we'll certainly get very tactical and practical about some different ways that your ideas will be able to get you to where you want to get. All right. Any questions? I got the next little bit free, but I want to make sure someone's like, man, Josh, I'm really confused about the blah, 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 blah. Now is the time. Is there anything that I went through that you're like, don't get it or have a question about something? Now would be the time. Marcel, what'd you think? Sergeant Shred. I'm going to keep calling you that because it's such a it's got the alliteration. It's my branding brain is like,
hey. I appreciate it. Hey, so we got to be able to, identify. We have to identify our uniqueness, So we all have something special within us, and it's all about innovation and creativity, And I really I understand what you mean, Lynn. I love what you said also too. Just by those key words, Amazon, Apple, whether it's a podcast or whatever it is, just that platform will definitely. I'm not gonna say it's gonna change your life around completely, but it's definitely a great stepping stone to be of service to others, and they actually take you seriously too. Not that they don't now, but when they see that, just that those names, that platform, it just helps out so much. So definitely in agreement with everything today.
In my vocabulary, thank you, Marcel. In my world, with my PR media consulting brain, we call that authority through association. So Lynn, you help me out with sales vocabulary. I help you out with some of those other things. My little niche-y part of the world that I obsess on. So, but yeah, authority through association. People know Apple. People know TiVo or not TiVo, I forget what the other, Roku, they know those. And so when you just kind of mention your association there, like that's why I will casually just a throwaway line mention, I spoke for Tony Robbins' organization. One thing that Tony will talk about is like, you may not remember the answer I give, but you're like, oh, what? And so you're like, wait a minute. So he did some, I don't know what he did something with Tony Robbins. So if his company trusts Josh, then maybe I should give him a little bit more attention, right? And that's really all it is we're looking for, just these little 1%, 2% little bumps here and there to earn more of someone's time and attention. And proximity is the right word for that. Oh, baby, am I going to get into proximity? Proximity. Oh, man, I'm going to get into proximity. We're going to get into familiarity bias. We're going to get into know, like, trust, and it is going to rock your world. And that is going to be next week. Any final thoughts or questions from anybody before we sign off for today? And make sure, yes. Hey, Patricia, I wanted to welcome you too. Go ahead and unmute real quick. And
I'm a technophobe. Actually, I'm an author, and my first book is called Techno, a humorous glimpse at the madness of technology. And it's all limericks, haiku, ditties, poetry, poking fun at technology. But because of a major incident where crisis that I had, trauma, I developed severe PTSD. I've had little bouts of PTSD along the way in my life, but having just celebrated 75 years, I've got to have some experiences, right? So I'm an author, and I guess I saw you when I don't go into Facebook all that often. When somebody posts something and I'm interested, I'll go in, and then I'll take 5 or 10 minutes and I'll scroll down and see what's there. And that's where I found you. And I liked your energy. I'm a very outgoing person myself, not an introvert. And I came into this because I liked your military background. I volunteered during the Vietnam War.
Wow.
That gives my age away as well. At Letterman Army Hospital in the Presidio in San Francisco during the Vietnam War when I was 17, 18, 19 years old.
Yeah.
And I actually talk about that experience in my book, A Glimpse at Me Stumbling Through PTSD.
Sure.
And I'm not sure that I'm in a right place. If this isn't more for structural businesses, or whether I fit into what you're doing.
Keep showing up until I cease to provide value. How about that?
Okay.
And when I cease to provide value, there's plenty of other people that are happy to have you listen. So,
those people are like the ones that Suzanne, was it Suzanne or Lynn? Lynn who talked about it.
Yeah,
one
Lynn.
of you. And I am so sick to death of these people, and I've called them out on it on several occasions.
Yes.
Yeah. I want to, stop getting emails from you. I'm just a number. I'm just cattle.
Yeah.
While your intentions are good, and maybe the founder of the company has their heart in the right place, you're all salespeople, and I'm sick to death of it.
Yeah.
We're just numbers to them,
Yep.
and we're boosting success, I feel, without them really giving back to us. We're just the numbers. They're not available to talk to us. They're not available to help in any way. We're just numbers.
Patricia, from your lips to God's ears and to every marketer who's listening. And so that's how we all feel about you. And again, just shout out to Mark Schaefer, who's done some excellent journalism in his own right on this topic, Marketing Rebellion. And again, who's also Bomb has also done really good work on this. I'll call it Ethan Butte from these two books right here, Rehumanize Your Business and Human-Centered Communication, are both really, really good as well about, again, just making sure that we are truly showing up in a human way. Coming up in the weeks ahead, we're going to be talking a lot about platform authority, and then I'm going to really tie that into how generosity is going to give you, it's going to open up the door to everything that you want and need in business, and more so. So with that, to my friends, thank you so much. Make sure you jump in the Facebook group. Make sure you've opted in there so I can send the stuff. I'm going to be sending an email in the next few days. And also in preparation for next week, I will send an email just with a reminder of the homework, because you're going to be tested on it. So be ready to come and share the results of that, because I'm going to make sure that you have some really great actionable items that we can all take action on so we can have a greater impact in the world. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And thank you, everybody, on the live stream as well. Sorry, didn't see the comments there, but I'll go take a look at that afterwards. And with that, we're going to go ahead and conclude week 1. We'll see you on week 2 next week.